Most men today are soft, not in body, but in mind. They panic when ignored. They lash out when challenged. They break down over small problems and call it strength. They want the rewards of a disciplined life without the discipline. And so, when they hear about Stoicism, when they hear phrases like control your emotions, or stay silent under pressure, or take full responsibility for your life, they check out, because Stoicism doesn't offer comfort. It offers confrontation. It doesn't say you're fine the way you are. It says you're capable of much more, but only if you shut up and grow up. That's why weak men won't watch this. They want motivation, not truth. They want hacks, not character. They want someone else to save them. But Stoicism hands you the mirror and says, look at yourself. Now fix it. No more blaming your past. No more crying about unfairness. No more waiting for life to be easier. It's just you, your mind, your choices, your strength. And most men today don't want that kind of accountability. But if you're still here, if you're watching this, then maybe you're not like most men. Maybe you're ready to go the other way, to build strength the hard way, to walk with silence, to lead with action, to control your impulses, to stop reacting and start rising. If that's you, keep watching, because the rest of this video will challenge every excuse you've ever made. And if you're feeling called out, good. That means something inside you still wants to grow. Let's break down exactly why most men reject Stoicism and why the few who embrace it become unstoppable. Part 1. They want comfort, not challenge. Let's be real, most men don't actually want to get stronger. They just want life to get easier. They want confidence without discomfort, respect without responsibility, power without pain. But Stoicism doesn't work like that. It's not a motivational quote. It's a way of life built on discomfort, deliberate, chosen, sharpened discomfort, because the Stoics believed this. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Marcus Aurelius, who was the most powerful man on earth at one point, woke up every day and reminded himself that pain, insult, difficulty, all of it were part of the path, not obstacles. The path, but weak. Men, they avoid anything that feels hard. They scroll, they escape, they distract. They chase dopamine and comfort like addicts. Tell them to take cold showers, they'll say, what's the point? Tell them to journal their anger, they'll say, that's not for me. Tell them to wake up early, hold their tongue. Train in silence, they'll laugh and go back to sleep. Because they don't want to be forged, they want to be coddled. But here's what they don't realize. Every single time you choose comfort over discipline, you weaken the voice inside. You that says I can. And every time you silence that voice, life gets louder, more overwhelming, more chaotic, more out of control. The Stoics trained themselves to lean into resistance on purpose. They fasted when they had food. They slept on the ground when they had a bed. They walked barefoot through snow, not for glory, but to remind themselves, I am stronger than my Meanwhile, weak men complain when the Wi-Fi cuts out for 10 seconds. They panic if their message is left unread. They crumble when told no. They see every challenge as a threat, not a test. But Stoicism doesn't protect you from life. It prepares you for it. Because let's be honest, life isn't soft. It's not fair. It doesn't care how you feel. So if your first instinct is to chase ease, avoid stress, and run from difficulty, you're already defeated. Comfort won't make you powerful. Challenge will. So ask yourself, Where am I playing soft? Where am I letting comfort erode my edge? Because the longer you wait to face hard things, the harder life becomes. And the moment you start seeking out discomfort on purpose, your mind begins to change. Your body follows. Your voice gets calmer. Your decisions get clearer. You stop needing motivation and start building discipline. And that's when the real transformation begins. Part 2. They mistake emotion for strength. We live in a world that praises expression over control. Speak your truth. Let it all out. Say what you feel. And while that may sound empowering, the Stoics would tell you this: not every emotion deserves a stage. Most men today think they're strong because they react fast, speak loudly, or wear their feelings on their sleeve. But that's not strength. That's emotional immaturity dressed up as authenticity. The Stoic man isn't emotionless. He's emotionally disciplined. He feels anger, disappointment, fear, just like everyone else. But he doesn't let those emotions hijack his judgment. Marcus Aurelius had armies to command, wars to fight, betrayals to face, and still, in his private journal, he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Weak men hear this and roll their eyes, because they've been taught that the louder you yell, the stronger you are. That if you're not venting your emotions, you're suppressing them. But suppression and self-mastery are two different things. Suppression is pretending you don't feel it. Stoicism is acknowledging it and then asking, is acting on this feeling going to make me better or worse? Let me ask you something. Have you ever said something in anger and then regretted it? Ever made a decision in fear and then paid the price? Ever reacted to someone's insult only to look like the fool yourself? That's the cost of mistaking emotion for strength. The Stoics believed, the stronger the man, the calmer the response, because calm means control. Control over your impulses, control over your words, control over how much power you give someone, else over your mind. Weak men give that power away constantly. They get triggered by tweets. They explode over opinions. They act like emotions are facts, and then wonder why their life feels like chaos. But here's what Stoicism teaches. You are not your emotions. You are the one who decides what to do with them. And that's what separates men who lead from men who crumble. So next time you're about to snap, pause and ask, is this emotion leading me or misleading me? Because strength isn't in how loud you are. It's in how still you can be when everything inside you wants to explode. Part 3. They can't sit alone with themselves. Put a man in a room with no phone, no music, no distractions, just himself. And most can't last more than 10 minutes. They'll get restless, anxious, uncomfortable, like something's wrong, but nothing's wrong. That's just the weight of their own mind finally catching up with them. See, weak men can't sit still, because silence forces them to face the truth about who they've become, the things they've been avoiding, the lies they've been telling themselves to stay comfortable. And that silence, it's deafening if you're not ready to hear it. But the Stoics, they sought silence. They craved solitude, not to escape the world, but to reflect, to confront themselves before the world ever could. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." That's not just about how others see you, it's about how you see you. When you sit in silence, things become clear. The excuses fade, the noise quiets, the patterns show themselves. But most men today are addicted to distraction. They open apps, not doors. They chase stimulation, not stillness. And so, they never develop the one skill that separates the strong from the weak. The ability to sit with discomfort and not run that you want to grow. Sit still, you want to solve a problem. Stop Googling and just think. You want to become unshakable. Then train your mind to stop flinching every time it's left alone. Because here's the hard truth. If you can't spend time alone, you'll always be controlled by others. If you can't be still, your peace will always be stolen. If you can't hear your own voice, you'll follow the loudest one in the room, even if it leads you off a cliff. The Stoics practiced silence not as a mood, but as a muscle. They journaled, they fasted from noise, they walked without speaking. They examined their own thoughts like a scientist, not a victim. And through that stillness, they gained clarity not just about life, but about themselves. So if you want to break out of the chaos, if you want to build a mind that doesn't need constant noise to feel alive, then do what the weak avoid. Sit still and listen, because the loudest answers in life come from the quietest places. Part 4. They blame everything but themselves. You can spot a weak man by one habit. He never takes responsibility. It's always someone else's fault. The economy, his boss, his parents, his partner, society, everything and everyone, except the man in the mirror. But here's what the Stoics knew. You are responsible for everything that's up to you and nothing else. Blame is a defense mechanism. It lets you feel like a victim, even when you're just avoiding your own potential. Marcus Aurelius ran an empire, dealt with betrayals, wars, plagues, and yet never once, in his private journal, did he waste time blaming others. Why? Because he understood the rule. Blame weakens you. Responsibility strengthens you. The moment you say, "This is my fault," is the moment you take your power back. But most men today, they're terrified of that power, because taking responsibility means facing your laziness, owning your bad decisions, admitting that no, you didn't try your best, you didn't show up like a man, you didn't control your impulses or your emotions or your habits, and that stings, so they lash out. They blame women, they blame the government, they blame rich people, influencers, their friends, their past, anything that shifts the weight off their shoulders. But guess what? When you constantly look for someone to blame, you never look for a way forward. Stoicism doesn't promise an easy life. It just teaches you how to face life head-on without excuses. It says, you don't control what happens, but you control how you respond. You don't control the storm, but you control your ship. And the man who owns his reactions, his thoughts, and his decisions, that man becomes unstoppable. Because when you drop the blame, you drop the baggage. You stop wasting energy on finger-pointing and start using that energy to level up. You fix what's broken. You learn from your mistakes. You move forward with clarity and purpose. So ask yourself right now, where am I blaming? Instead of building, where am I pointing the finger when I should be turning it inward? Because real men don't play the victim. They play the long game. And they understand, the more you blame, the less you grow. Take ownership of your life, even the ugly parts, because once you do, no one else controls you anymore. Part 5. They want control without controlling themselves. Every man wants to feel in control. Control over his career, control in his relationships, control over his future. But here's the paradox. You can't control the world if you haven't mastered yourself. And that's where weak men fall apart. They want their partner to respect them, but they can't even respect their own boundaries. They want others to listen, but they can't control their tone. They want wealth, success, admiration, but they can't wake up on time, stick to a plan, or resist cheap dopamine. That's not control. That's chaos dressed up as ambition. The Stoics had a simple rule. First command yourself, then you may lead others. Epictetus' self-control isn't about being robotic. It's about being responsible for your impulses, reactions, and behavior, because if you can't say no to yourself, the world will say no to you. And here's the thing, Stoicism doesn't teach you to dominate others. It teaches you to dominate your lower nature. That lazy voice, that angry voice, that anxious, reactive, emotional voice that hijacks your peace and makes you a slave to circumstance. But weak men ignore that battle. They chase status without substance. They want leadership without discipline. They want the rewards of self-mastery without the war it requires. Look at the world today. Men crumble over rejection. They spiral when they don't get attention. They throw tantrums, burn bridges, blame others, all because they never learned one skill: to govern their own mind. The Stoics believed this was the only true power. Not wealth, not fame, not force, but inner command. Because once you have that, the world can't touch you. Insults bounce off. Rejections don't shake you. Delays don't break you. Why? Because you no longer need to control everything. You just need to control you. And that's the most dangerous kind of man. The one who's calm under pressure, who thinks before reacting, who doesn't chase but attracts through presence and purpose. So if you really want control, don't start with others. Start with your routines, your thoughts, your tongue, your triggers. Master that, and the rest of the world will start moving in your direction.